Good evening and welcome to Tech Tuesday. This is Johan again, and welcome and Happy New Year as well. Yeah, just so as you guys know, this is the fourth episode in our Flutter streaming series. So if you've not watched the previous three, you're more than welcome to go watch them after the stream. Yeah, the basic concept of the series is, as you remember, is to build the Flutter app for our Tech Tuesday blog posts. We started out with how to set up your project, and then we went over to how to connect to an API. And then the previous video was our UI part 1, and now it will be our UI part 2, where we will actually build our article page where we can actually read articles that has been posted on our Tech Tuesday site. So just a reminder, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the channel, in the live chat. Also, I do encourage audience participation. So if you feel that you have an idea for how to change the UI of the app, as well, just post that in the channel, and then we can add that if it is a good idea, obviously. So yeah, just a quick summary of what we'll be doing today. As you can remember, in the previous video, we built the layout of our homepage that looks like this. And today we will actually be implementing our article view page. So we will be using similar styling to this and our Tech Tuesday website, and then just implementing it in a mobile view, and having our content display here as well. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a 4-part series so far, so just if you've got no idea what's going on, just watch the video, and then afterwards you're more than welcome to go catch up on the previous 3 that are live on our channel as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think it's a good idea for us to start now. So yeah, let's see. Let's get going. So yeah, let's start at the very top. So this is going to be our article screen, and I'm just going to use our website as an actual reference for what we want to implement. So I'm just going to scroll over so you can actually see what it does look like on our Tech Tuesday website. We have the navy bar at the top with the Tech Tuesday icon in. We've got a yellow bar below that with the actual name of the article. We have the image, like the icon or the thumbnail for the video, and then an explanation or a text-based version of the video below. We will, however, not be implementing the YouTube link into the app. For now, we're going to keep that as a separate content, so we can actually have a video dedicated to how to implement video within an app. But yeah, this is pretty much exactly what it's going to look like in the app. It's just going to be mobile form. So yeah, I think we can get going. So the first thing we should do is we should implement the app bar at the top. Luckily for us, in the previous video, we've already done something similar. So we can just go back to our home view and check what we did there. Yeah, as you can see, we just set the background to dark blue, and we have the title within a sized box, and have the image displayed within that. So just to save us some time, we're just going to copy this and paste it over, and then just import our constant file so we have access to that as well. And as you can see, there we go, it's done. Flutter does auto-generate a back button for us, so there's no need for us to even add that. So yeah, that's pretty much that, and we're done with the app bar. Next thing we should do is probably add that yellow box with the text and the image in. Seeing that we already have the text displayed within this, it would be fairly simple just to pull it up and display it at the top. For instance, that. So I think we should start working on that. So yeah, for our body, we should change our layout into a column, because we will be stacking items above each other. So we'll use a column that has children. So our first child will be our header, and then just below that we'll add our page content. So we'll have two separate items stacked above each other. So it would probably be the square with the yellow in, and that includes the image. So we'll have a header element, and then we'll have our content element below it. So yeah, first thing we should do is we should create a container for the top item. It should consist of, let's have a look, we should have a stack of items again, and it does have, the specific container does have a background which it consists of two colors. So yeah, let's add our text and the image below it. So we'll have a child that is a column, because we'll be stacking items above it, in a column form again. It will have children. The first one will be a text. That will be our header. So we'll just add in, I just have to remember my single quotations. We'll add in header so we know where it is. Next we'll have our date selection of our date section. So let's add again text. We'll have in date, and then lastly will be our thumbnail for the specific video of the article we're viewing. So let's just add a text for now, so we have a space for it, so we know where it should go within the app. So let's just add image over here. And then as you can see, as I've been working, it's been updating it here. So you can see we have our header at the top, we have date, we have image. So that's how the items will be stacked. I think the first thing we should do then is just get working with our image. So let me just do the following. We'll obviously have the image on coming from our API, so we will need to load it the same way we did the article cards in the front. So again, it would be image.network, and then the source will obviously be the URL where we find the image, which in our case has been passed with our article object to this page. So we can just say widget, because it's coming, because it's outside of our state, and it's within the widget at the top. So we'll say widget.article.image URL, and if I refresh now, our image has been loaded. So I think that's fine for now. We'll change the sizing in a bit. I think our next step should be the date, or maybe even the header. Let's do the header first. Luckily for us, again, our text has already been provided with our class up here, so our article object that we passed through. So we just say widget.article, and again we have the title right there. Click save, core web vitals, it's been passed through. And then lastly we have our date. Now again, we can pass our date in widget.article.date, which we've provided to the object, but it is datetime format and we can't have that in the text. So for now we can say .toString, but that does not match the actual styling we have up here. So there's two things that we'll need to do. Firstly, we'll need to add the published on, and then we'll need to show the date. As you can see within the website, we have published on and then the actual date in a readable format afterwards. So just so we do that, I'm first going to start with the published on. So as you know, you can insert, you can use you can cut into strings, if you want to say it like that, by adding the $sign and then curly braces afterwards. So just before the $sign, I'll just say on published on, and then as you can see that adds the string in front. So with other languages, you would have to, like for instance in JavaScript, you would have to say string. Let me just comment this out so I can use it as an example. You should have something like string 1, and then you can add more like math rather than actual normal typing in a way. So yeah, you can do this in Flutter, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we have the published on, but now we need to actually get our date within a format that is readable as well. Luckily for us, again, we've done this on our article card. As you can remember, let me just quickly jump back. We've already done that here as well. But to not copy and paste code, I'll actually try and re-implement that so you can actually get an idea of how that works. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll need the date format object, date format class we got from that Intel package we imported in the previous video. So let me just add that package so we can get rid of the error. So import intl, there we go, and now we should have access to date format. Right, then we need to pass in the format that we want our date to be in. So that's going to be small d for a numbered date, capital M's for a typed out month, and then small y's to actually have our date in number format as well. After that, we'll actually say that we want to format, and then we need to pass the date time that we want to format in this way, which will be widget.article.date. And if I save now, there we go, published on 2 November 2021. Okay, so now we have our sections typed out and the correct data that's being displayed. We should actually now get, I'll actually add the styling to that specific text. So let's start with the first one. We'll say style, text style, and then pass in what we want. So font size is our first one. I'm going to estimate this one. I'm not 100% sure what it should be. I'm going to estimate in the area of about 30 to 40. So let's say we start off with 30 and see how that looks like. It kind of matches it. Let's just compare the actual Tech Tuesday icon with the width of the screen. So, you know, it kind of matches up. It feels a bit small based on the screen size. Don't know. Let's just keep it as 30 for now. I mean, we can always come back and change that. The next thing we need to do is actually this font's not bold, and within our website it is actually bold, so we're going to add font weight, and then just call font weight dot bold. If I refresh now, you can see there it's now much bolder. Alright, so just to keep with good practice, we should actually just export our text style and put it into our const folder so we can actually reuse it if we want to. So I'm just going to cut that, go to utils, go to constants, and then just do pretty much what we've done there so we can actually reuse it throughout our app. So I'm going to say static text style. And then we're going to say get article header, and that's going to return the text style we just created. So now we can copy the article header name, and for our style in our text we can just say constants dot article header, and there it should look exactly the same. So something cool that we actually can do in Flutter as well. For instance, in the above section we have article card date, which is just text that's been bold. So if we have this and we can't add new stuff to the file, and it's only like a one specific case where you want the style that's been added here, but you only want to change one specific thing within that, or more, but a good idea is just to change one or two things. We can actually say, rather than calling, so we can call that specific item. Let's just do that so I can give an example. So we can say article.card date. This is the one we want to use as kind of a template for our new style. So we can say article card date. Then we can say dot copy with. And this way we can actually create a copy of this text style and change all the parameters within it as much as we want. So for instance, I can say color and change the color of that specific font to, let's say, red. And also we can say font size. So you can say font size, we can make it massive and say 40. And there you go. So what it's pretty much what it's doing, it's creating a copy of our article card date and then overriding the parameters we're giving it within the copy with, which is actually something pretty cool you can use if you want a specific style to be used across all your stuff without having to rewrite them. So in our situation, rather than having font size 30, we can use we can do the following. So we can say article card title dot copy with font size of 30, meaning that we want it to look exactly the same as our article card title, which has been used over there. The only difference is that we want it to be larger with a font size of 30. So let me just quickly add that here, and then I can show you in a more detailed example. So I'm just going to reference the header, and as you can see, it's been set there as well, and there as well. So now this enables me to change styles across the app. So for instance, if I remove the bold, it will set that title to normal text as well as that title to normal text as well. So it gives you the ability to change a bunch of stuff, change your app, update your app all in one, just like with changing one piece of code. Imagine you had to actually change bold there, and there, just by removing bold in your app. So yeah, that's enough with about our copy with. I think it's just a good idea for us to go on. Our date time format's going to be exactly the same as our one on the previous page. So we can just say style constants dot we can use article card date, which it just pulled that out for us, which is perfect. However, our spacing is a bit off, so we need some space at the top in the middle of those two texts and below the date, as it does seem like the spacing above the title and below, like the above and below these two items, are fairly similar, and then we just have some spacing between them. So what we can actually do is extract our two title items into its own widget. So this will not necessarily be a widget that we will be reusing, but I think for good practice, I think we should just add one. So you can say new file, we'll call it article title dot. We'll import our material package. We'll just use a state list widget because it's not going to change its state, it's just going to use whatever we pass it, and then we'll call it our article title, and then just copy these two text elements out, and then within this specific container we'll say child, we'll give it a column because the two items will be stacked above one another. It does have children, we'll paste the two children we've created in the previous page in here. As you can see, we do not have access to our widget article object within this specific widget. So what we'll do is we'll just say final article, and then we'll just say that it is a required parameter for this widget. Did I spell article correctly? Oh, I forgot this dot article. Right, so now article is a required parameter for this widget. So we can remove the widget, seeing that it is we don't have a state object, so it is within the widget, so we don't need to reference the widget itself. So we can just remove the two widgets, and then just our two imports that we are missing is import. We'll just use the intel one, and then see if we can have a quick fix for our constants. There we go. And then, alright, so that's our container. So let me just reference article title on our actual view page so we can have that displayed. Article title, and our article that we require will be widget.article. So in theory this would look nothing different. There we go. So now we only have 2 items to manage, which is much easier than 3 or 4, especially now that we want to add some padding and spacing between the items. So yeah, let's add the padding, which will be the top padding here and the bottom padding here, to our title object at the top. Let's add padding edge insets dot. We just want to add at the top, at the bottom, so it's going to be symmetric. We only want it for our vertical axis, and let's start out with something like 30, just so we can actually gauge where it needs to be. It does look correct. It does look nice in my opinion. It could be slightly more. I think if we go to that to the general rule of having it be able to divide by, I think that you have to go like, I think it's 2, 4, 8, something like that. Let's just use for 32. I think that should be fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then we just need to add some padding between the title and the date as well. But for simplicity's sake, all we need to really do is just add a size box that creates some white space for us, and we'll give it a height of about let's say 8, just to be consistent. Save. 8 does look like it could be a smidge more. I want to go. Let's see what if we double it. That's going to be too much. Is a bit too much. Let's try 12. Yeah, I think it could be a bit less. I think 10 was actually our sweet spot. Right. And then we just need to remember to make these constants, so we don't need to re-render them each and every time. There we go. I think our title looks pretty good. Right. So next, what we should do is actually add the yellow background in, and also space our image so it doesn't have it doesn't fill the full width of the screen, but only just like we get some spacing around that. Right, so let's start off with the yellow background. What we could do is we could say color. Let's just add a random color for now, so we can actually see it colors.red, so we can actually see where our container is. It does fill up the top half with red, meaning that should be fine there if it was yellow. But however, I have a feeling that it's covering red all the way to the bottom of the image as well, and that's not what we want. We want it to be white halfway through. So let's decrease our image size just to make sure that I am correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a width to the image, I'm just going to use media query because we want it to be flexible based on the screen size. And I'm going to say media query dot size dot width of the screen, and we want it to be, let's say, about 80 to 90% of the current screen width. So we're going to say width times 0.8 for 80%. Okay, it does shrink our entire container, however, so we do need to add a width to our container at the top. Or we can maybe see if we can add it at the, no, we'll need to add it at the container level. So our container, we would then want to be the entire width of the screen. So media query.of context.size.width should be the same as the current screen. Yeah, and as you can see, it does fill it all the way to the bottom, as what I thought might happen. Just sizing related, I think our image might be a touch too small, so I think we can add a bit, make it a slight bit bigger, maybe 90. I think that looks better. Yeah, so I think our image size is a fine size. We just need to figure out a way to have one container with two colors within it. We need a yellow at the top, and we need the white at the bottom, and we need a way to actually control that and determine if we need to adjust a few things based on where the yellow line is at the end, just so we've got some control over that as well. So a trick I've been using to have two colors or even 3 or 4 colors within a specific container is to use gradients. So now you might be thinking, okay, but a gradient takes it from one color and fades it into another color, which is true, but in Flutter you can actually set the stops of the gradient, meaning where it should start with the gradient or stop with the first gradient and start with the second gradient or the second color. So you can actually add them on the same position, meaning there will be no transition between the colors and it will be a solid split between the two colors. So that's pretty much what we'll be doing now to get the two colors within our container. So I'm just going to remove the color we've added and then add decoration to our container. It's going to be box decoration. Within our box decoration, we'll add a gradient, which will be a linear gradient.
I didn't get that.
Sorry. A linear gradient. We'll give it colors, which is an array of colors. For now, we'll just use 2 bright colors so we can actually see what we're doing. Colors, let's say for instance red, we'll keep the red one, and then we'll add something else like colors dot, let's say green or gray. Yeah, let's rather use green. Right, so if I refresh now, you can see that we actually have our gradient implemented from the left and the right. So we're going from green up until red. So let's change that, our actual start and end position, because we want it to go from the top to the bottom. So it does allow us to, I think it is start is the actual thing we can use to set the starting position. Nope. Oh, it's begin. And then we can give it an alignment. We'll use top center. So from the top center up until the bottom. What's cool about gradients is you can actually have your position go from anywhere in the 8 corners. You can even go to get it from the center. So everywhere in these 9 alignment positions, you can start your gradient from, and it can end in any other of those positions. So for instance, now I'm starting in the middle at the top, and it's gradient going down up until this corner over here. So if I change the end to the bottom center, it should start at the top and go through all the way to the bottom. There we go. But we still have, let me just add a const here so we do not stop getting that blue line. So we still have a gradient effect. We want it to be able to have a hard edge between our 2 gradients or between our 2 colors. And this is where the stops come in. which is an array of doubles, which is the position from 0 to 1, the percentage position where we want it to stop. So for instance, if we want the red to start at, let's say, 40% through the container, we'll say 0.4, and we want the green to end pretty much, let's say, at about 0.8. You'll see that the red goes much further and the green goes much further upwards as well. And you can start to see what I'm actually trying to achieve. So if we change the green to 0.4 as well, meaning that it will start at the exact same position as where the red will end, we'll get a solid line through our container. So like I mentioned previously, you can actually add a bunch of colors. It doesn't need to be two. Gradient support, I've not found the end of how many colors it actually does support. So let's add, rather not black, let's just use blue. We'll say that it should start at, let's see what happens if I add 0.8 in here. And there you can see there's now a gradient between blue and green as well. So yeah, you can play around with this. I mean, you can start to see that the actual design effects you can get from the gradients. It doesn't necessarily need to be a gradient. I mean, technically, yeah, this is supposed to be a gradient, but it gives us the effect of two boxes, one with a gradient, one with not. Right, so let's just roll back. Let's just get our line positioning well. I think we should look at probably 60% through that container. Gets us about halfway, a bit more than halfway through the image, which is about, I think it could be a bit less. I think we'll play around with that. Our second color will be white because we will be transitioning from the yellow to the white, which fits in perfectly there. And then we just need to add our yellow color. For that we'll jump back to our constants. We'll use the exact same logic we used for our navy background. So just for consistency's sake, I'm just going to paste the color code in here. Like that. And as you remember from the previous video, if you use it in this format, you can swap out your hash symbol for 0x small x ff, and then your color, your normal hex code over there. And as you can remember, the ff is the opacity of the color. Yeah, so we're just gonna say static color. We want to get, we'll call it the Tech Tuesday yellow, so we know what we're referencing. Tech Tuesday yellow, and this will return a const color, and then we'll use this value. So if in our article, I think we'll need to remove that. Let's just make sure if we import it this way, we'll say constants dot Tech Tuesday yellow. Yeah, and then we just need to remove that. If we refresh now, there we go. We've got our correct yellow in. I think that looks fine. I don't think we need to fiddle too much with that height. I think we get the basic concept of that, and I think it does look cool. However, I'm considering making the title a bit larger. Let's just keep it as is for now. I don't know if you have any suggestions in the chat if I should make it larger or not. Just add our const there, add our comma so we can actually get that to refresh well. And yeah, that's pretty much our top header at the moment. It's our first item in our column. So next we'll actually add in our content that's being displayed. Yeah, so as you remember in the previous video, I mentioned that the way we actually get our content from WordPress via the API is in HTML format, which does it's an unforeseen challenge. I mean, if we could get the plain text, that would be great, and we can style it that way. But we do need to accommodate for situations where we do not control how our data is being received. So then we need to find a way to actually have this HTML content and then display it in a way for Flutter to actually for Flutter to actually display that in a way that is readable. So just as an example, I'm going to show you how our content is actually coming through. So our next widget in our array, meaning our body, will be the actual content of our article. So article.content. And if I surround that now, you see that it does come through as plain HTML. And we also have an overflow, and I think first thing we should do is fix that overflow so we don't run into it in the future as well. So yeah, pretty much easy way to fix an overflow. If you have a column with a bunch of children in and you want to add scrolling to this page, because that's what we want to do, we want to see the content that's being overflowed here as well, we can pretty much just say within our column, you can, on a Mac it's command period, on a Windows I think it's control period, but you can call that to bring up our widget suggestions, and we're just going to say wrap with widget. And then Flutter has a cool widget which is single child scroll view, meaning that it takes its single child, which is in this case a column, and adds scrolling abilities to that. And as you can see, the moment I clicked refresh, it took away our overflow issue and added the ability to scroll through our HTML as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what we need to work with. So something pretty cool is that Flutter does have a package that solves our problem for the situation, and it's not a web view. It's a package that actually takes HTML and passes it into Flutter code or Flutter widgets, so it is native displayed. It's not a web view within a screen, so we can actually use that. And the package is called Flutter _HTML. So let's add it. As you can remember, on a Mac it's Command Shift P. I think it's Control Shift P in Windows. You just say .add dependency, and then you just type in the actual package that you want to add. So it's Flutter _HTML. There we have it at the top. So let's add it, wait for it to build. Let that continue. Let's give it a second. So yeah, I think just while we're waiting for that, we can actually discuss what needs to happen as well. So for our content view, we actually do not want the video to display. Iframes and video players within HTML is not supported by the Flutter HTML package for now. Especially YouTube videos are being blocked. So it does throw an error whenever you try to render that. So I think we should cut that out of our app first, and then we can actually try and render our content from there. So how we'll do that is we'll actually use the same kind of suspicious coding activities that I used for the previous to actually get our image out of the HTML. So let's just jump into our models, article model. So we need to remove our video from our content. So how we'll do that is we'll create a new function. Let's just pop it here at the bottom. We'll say static string, because that's what we'll return. We'll return the HTML just without that specific item. we'll just call it let's just say content without YouTube, because that's what we're trying to cut from it. And then we need to pass it the actual content, and that should return, for now we'll just return content so we can get it to stop complaining. There we go. So pretty much what we'll do is we'll pass in the content, we'll find the YouTube link within this HTML, and we'll strip out that entire div so it doesn't render within our app and cause errors in the future or whatever situation we might have. So yeah, let's swap it out so we can actually start implementing this. We'll swap out our content. So our content will pretty much be, rather than just a pure JSON, our content will be content without YouTube, and we'll pass it our JSON content that comes from the API into it. So our this is where the weird situation is going to come in, because we do not know where in our HTML the YouTube link might lie. It could be at the top, it could be at the very bottom, but we need to kind of accommodate for where it is in our code. So what I did was I ran through all the code and actually looked for markers within the div that is unique. Like as you can see here, there's coincidence that it's actually the one that I'm hovering on. So we need to cut out this entire div, and it could be placed with anywhere within our HTML. So what I actually did was I looked for what class is actually being used. So as you can see, the div actually uses its own class, Fusion YouTube. So this could be actually something that we could be looking for within our entire HTML and cut that out if we find it. But we need to cut out the entire div. I mean, you can imagine what would happen if we just cut out that line. It might, yeah, it'll definitely go crazy somewhere. So what we could do is we can actually add a marker to look for all these Fusion divs. So div that has a class of Fusion, we can add a split marker in front of, split all the entire string there, and then just remove the string that matches our criteria. So what I'll do is I'll create a new variable. I'll call it HTML. This will be then, so this will be pretty much content dot, I want to replace all. I want to find dev class equals Fusion. So it's going to be, I want to replace it with dev class equals, yeah, that's fine, Fusion. So we're looking for all the divs that matches this description we have there. Even if we find just one, meaning that this will be one and that will be one, this will still remove the necessary HTML that we're looking for. And then we need to replace this with an actual, or something that we can use as a split marker. So normally what I would do is, in a situation where we have content like this, I would add something like that and just use split within it. So I know wherever I find this word, that's where I should split my string. And then let's add our split within this as well. So just say split, and this is the pattern one we'll be looking for. So this is extremely hacky, and it's not a normal practice, but for our situation, this is the only way we can actually get that HTML to render on the other side. So please don't tell anyone that this is what you're supposed to do. This is just for our specific use case, the only thing that I managed to get working. So yeah, we've got a bunch of array of strings within our HTML. We actually need to find wherever that Fusion YouTube is used and cut that entire section, which should be something from up until there, from there to there, cut that from our array, and then just rebuild it as one string. So we'll say HTML dot remove where. We'll say element dot contains, and we're looking for Fusion YouTube. So element contains Fusion dash YouTube. Fusion YouTube. I think that's exactly what we're looking for. If I could find that. Yeah, Fusion YouTube. Fusion YouTube. Yes, that's exactly what we're looking for. We'll say we're done, and then rather than returning our content, we'll just return the HTML array and then just say join, so we can actually get that joined into one large string as well. The split does remove the split indicators as well for us, so we don't need to worry about that. So let's hope this worked, and then let's try and render our HTML at the bottom of our page. So yeah, let's so to use our Flutter HTML, we only need to call HTML. We need to add the data to it, HTML data, and we'll be using widget.article.content. So now if I refresh, we'll actually get our content rendered in our article page, I hope. Actually, okay, we get an error, which is at least something new. And there we go. Okay, so for some other reason, it's still bringing in our YouTube. Oh, okay, obviously because we've not reran the API call, so the current model does still include our video player. So as you can see, that error we got is because the YouTube video is not being rendered. But as you can see, still our content is being built. All the icons is there, all the bolding is there. We can even, somewhere throughout this article is an emoji. As you can see there, it even renders the emojis as it should. So just to see if our hacky HTML YouTube cutting worked, I'm just going to rerun the app. So that should get the API request, redo the API request, rebuild the strings, recreate the models. And then as soon as I go in here, there we go, our YouTube video has been cut out. And our article content is being displayed correctly as well. And we've got scrolling and everything throughout our app. Yeah, so just a small thing that's bothering me at the moment is the padding at the sides of the HTML content. It does feel a bit too close to the edge of the screen, so I think we should wrap our HTML widget within padding, and then just give it like a general padding. I think 8 should be fine. We could do it a bit more. Let's try 8 and see what that looks like. It looks better. Just a slight overflow there, so just increase it to 10, see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks fine. It does add a bit of padding at the top here as well. Does add padding at the bottom here as well. I think we should, just to be safe, maybe add a safe area at the bottom of this content. Just to be safe. But what I'm going to do now is just going to wrap our padding. Wrap it with a widget, and then we'll just call it a safe area. So as you can remember, that the safe area does cut out interface items. So as you can see, it will cut out at the bottom. It would add padding, so this does not interfere with our actual content. That widget or your app selector thing at the bottom of the iPhone. It does add it at the top as well, but seeing that this widget does never extend past the notch at the top, it would never apply that widget to it, the padding to it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we need to do for this specific article. For everything to look good, we can actually go back and look at, for instance, this article. As you can see, image display, get basics at the top. All our content is looking fine at the bottom as well. So yeah, that's pretty much everything for this video. Okay. It does not seem like there's any questions. Um, yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, if this is pretty much our Tech Tuesday app. Hopefully, the next time you'll see it, it will actually be coming from the the app stores, the like App Store and Google Play Store, and you'll actually be using it in your own hands and not just from seeing it on a screen, but it will be actually be a useful thing that you can use. Just a note, our next video will be on how to do automatic deployments of the app, meaning whenever you switch, push it to a new branch within your GitHub, it will trigger GitHub actions and that will actually automatically deploy your app to the new, like an update to your Play Store or anything like that. We'll also probably be adding tests and also code quality checks and just stuff to make your life easier overall. So yeah, that's just a sneak preview of our next episode. So hopefully you'll all join us for that one as well. And yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope you found the content enjoyable. And then see you next time.